This week's Nifty Gifties and F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, a new Xbox, games, or a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% off almost everything. To browse the products and learn more about the discounts, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. We have talked in the past about a company that until a couple of years ago was relatively unknown outside of the industry. It's a TSMC, or the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. This company is responsible for a ridiculous percentage of the microchips that are produced on the planet. In fact, the last stat I heard said that of the non-Intel and AMD processors, like 98% are made by them, and including Intel and AMD, it's like 91%, which shows you just how few processors are actually in your computer, and instead how many are in your watch and the radio in your car and the lights that power the studio. They are not single-handedly, but they have been a big part of some of the struggles that we've had with car manufacturing, even Raspberry Pi, as Avram is wearing the shirt. There's been chip shortages, and when so much of the manufacturing comes from one place, one small issue can bottleneck. And that's kind of what's happened. And so this week, the company announced that they had finished construction, and we'll define that word in just a moment, on a new fabrication facility in Arizona. Now, there was some conversation on our article on Twitter, and I want to clarify what the word construction means, and it is in the article. Construction is the actual construction of the building. The building is physically complete. It is the first of three phases as part of this process. The first phase is the construction of the building. The second is bringing in the livable, the habitable things, AC, plumbing, those types of things. And the third is the actual fabrication equipment. But they are several months ahead of schedule on this build, which is a really good thing. We need more manufacturing, more fabrication facilities for chips. And personally, Avram, I think this is a good thing in two different directions. One, we just generally need more fabrication facilities. And two, Taiwan's a little on the edge right now. And so having some manufacturing outside of the country is probably a good idea.
Yeah, it is, except I'm not sure, I guess I wonder if Taiwan gets, first of all, we should say that if Taiwan were invaded by China, by Taiwan, technically speaking, the United States considers Taiwan part of China as the part of the one China policy. But if the People's Republic of China were to invade Taiwan, it would be a huge disaster, and it would be a massive disaster for the global economy beyond all the humanitarian issues and geopolitical issues.
The world would change overnight. There's talk that they're set to self-destruct their facilities if that happens.
There was an interview with the chairman of TSMC on CNN just yesterday, where he said no one will be able to control TSMC by force. Now, I don't know if what that means. Right. I don't think he's got he hasn't said, "Oh, we're going to blow up the factory" or something. Right. But that would definitely be I don't know.
It would be a problem.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Obviously what has happened in Ukraine has been absolutely horrible, and we don't need another war like that. But
true.
Beyond beyond that, like the effect on the global economy and the technology industry would be like a Richter scale. It would be really bad. So
Yeah.
and for what it's worth, everybody would lose because
True.
everybody would lose. China would lose too. Everybody would lose. It would be, for one thing, for example, not to get too off the track here, but TSMC and a lot of the other Taiwanese companies, they have factories in mainland China. They are a big part of they're a big part of People's Republic of China economy.
Mhm.
So, if those companies are manufacturing things that get sold in America, I mean, obviously, it would be. I don't know how you would necessarily like. I don't know what it would necessarily mean for the West in terms of like, would they just stop buying chips that were products that were made in China over this? If they did, where would people get anything?
Yeah.
I mean, but it would be a lot of pain for uh, a lot of
Everybody.
pain for a lot of people, for everybody, including for China itself. So hopefully, uh, we maintain the situation that has been going on for many years. And by the way, for people who I've been to Taiwan a whole bunch of times,
Hmm.
not that that makes me any kind of expert because when I'm there, I'm not sitting there talking politics with people, but the impression that I get is that people go back and forth from Taiwan to Hong Kong to mainland China, and there's a lot of free moving trade and free moving um, you know travel. So anyway, I really the relationships between people seem to be like good. Um,
Right.
anyway, so I mean, obviously, it's great to increase capacity, not only because Taiwan and mainland China are, you know, to some degree question marks, but remember that it's run by a company that is a Taiwanese company. So if
True.
Taiwan were to fall off the map, what happens to the company? Does a company just not run out of Taiwan anymore?
Right.
Does it become a company that's not controlled by the Chinese government? Like what uh, you know it's so they're moving, so they're putting the factory in the West, but who controls the factory
Yep.
um,
True.
is an interesting question. Um, but it is good for everyone that they are creating uh, different fabs because the need for chips keeps growing and growing.
Yeah.
Shipping, even in a time of uh, peace, shipping issues are an issue. I mean, that's why some of the shortages happen. And
Yeah.
then, of course, you have things like virus outbreaks and natural disasters and things like that. You really, I mean, redundancy, right?
Exactly.
Um, everybody. I also think isn't the U.S. actually we're passing some laws to actually incentivize
Yeah.
uh, more chip facilities in the
I-
U.S.
Intel in Ohio, for example.
Right. So yeah, there needs to be more. I mean, we
We
say
can't
this
real
about web servers.
we can't rely on one tiny island or tiny cluster of islands to be responsible for the core component that runs everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a. I mean, I don't even think you can. I mean, I don't think it's just Taiwan. I don't think you can rely on one country
Right.
to do
True.
that. So it's good to it's good um, to spread this capability around. I mean, look, if you run a web server, you know that you need to have redundancy, right? So if you're running a
True.
serious website, you have a data center, data centers in different countries, a data centers in different parts of a country, and things like that. And if one goes down, another one, there's failover. So where there needs to be failover for this type of manufacturing capability.
True.
It's just too important.
True. Absolutely. So it's important to note that this is not an immediate solution. Like I said, this is phase one of three. But fortunately, the company has had great timing on this. They are way ahead of schedule, which is important. Being so long as everything's being done safely, which I assume it is. It's wonderful that they're this far ahead of schedule, and that we could see, because what, 6 months ago the company said that they thought that putting up a new fab would take 5 years. If they're already several months ahead of schedule just on the construction, maybe they can pull that in a little bit, and hopefully that's what they're aiming for. So I think that will be good for everybody too, if they're able to put it together faster than they had hoped.
I mean, what about the other thing to note though is 5 nanometer is in 5 years is not going to be that great.
True, but maybe not for your system, for your computer, but for your car stereo.
Yeah, I mean for other things, yes, but if you want to, be on the bleeding edge, we're going to be at 3 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're already working on 3 and 2 nanometer, so
Yeah.
5 nanometer is five. I think we're going to be seeing. I think we're going to be seeing some 5 nanometer CPUs this year.
Yeah.
So 5 nanometer is
If their goal is not to produce chips in this facility for Intel and or AMD, but instead for uh, Sony for their car stereos, coming down from the 130s that they're currently running on, or Tesla for their infotainment systems, or maybe that's who they're targeting is infotainment systems and stuff, because that's kind of who TSCM is, you know. TSMC. God, I always get those. I swap those letters around all the
TSMC.
time. TSMC.
Yeah.
That's kind of been their focus. Has been being a foundry for those kind of weird chips. So
Yeah, I mean, you need as much chip capacity as possible, so it's definitely a plus.
yeah, for sure. Uh, we'll keep an eye on this and see if they're able to pull any more time together, and what they're going to be producing there. As we find out, we'll let you know. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course, hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.